our this month's Wisdoms meeting. I'd like to wish you good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to each and every one of you, wherever you are. Some of you are just about having your morning coffee, whereas there are some of us trying to keep awake in order that we don't fall asleep. Now, wherever that you are at, I feel so blessed to be able to welcome you. It is such a pleasure and honor to be meeting all of you. And we are talking about what, 12 to 16-hour time zones, people from different parts of the world. We have people in the, just now, Richard was mentioning it's 6 a.m. where it is. And for me over here, 10. And people in Australia, that will be about, they are not joining us today. They are already tomorrow for them. So wherever you are, welcome to this NeuroSemantics Wisdoms meeting. I am Mazuki. I'm a NeuroSemantics trainer and meta coach, and I represent Malaysia in the ISNS leadership team. This ISNS NeuroSemantics Wisdoms meeting is organized in order to fulfill the purpose of having a stronger connection between our international society, the NeuroSemantics Institutes, and also the members, that's you and me. It is a platform for us to refresh our knowledge of neurosemantics, to recharge and be inspired with renewed meanings. And of course, to increase our collaboration. And with Irfan in the room, I must mention that to have lots of fun. And to kick off this session, I wish to honor your presence today by greeting each and every one of you through the National Institute. So I'm going to switch on the sharing. Okay, here we are. Coming up, yes. This meeting, the topic for this meeting is a deep dive into attention. And I'd like to honor your presence today by greeting each and every one of you through the National Institute. So right now, please unmute your mic so that we can honor everyone by loudly greeting in your national language as I introduce the Institute. So are you ready? Unmute your mics. Irfan, Ines, just unmute your mic. So let's go and first welcome the Institute of NeuroSemantics Africa. Let's give them a big hand.
Hey.
Hello.
Hello.
Next is the Institute of NeuroSemantics Australia. Let's give them a big hand.
Welcome.
Bravo.
Some of them are here. Next is the Institute of NeuroSemantics Brazil. Yeah, people from Brazil are the first amongst the first to arrive in this room.
Bravo.
Next is Institute of NeuroSemantics Egypt, Middle East, and North Africa. Welcome. So you are at about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon for you in Africa. And next is the Institute of NeuroSemantics Europe and Scandinavia. Let's give them a big hand. Welcome.
Hello.
Yeah. And
Welcome
next is the Institute of NeuroSemantics Hong Kong and China. Let's give them a big hand. And
welcome.
for China, they are behind the silk curtain because there is another what we call online platform they are in because they are translating this into Mandarin. in China. And next is the Institute of Neurosemantics
Yeay.
Indonesia.
Selamat malam.
Selamat
Welcome,
datang
datang.
Indonesia.
Selamat datang.
Next is the Institute of Neurosemantics Latin America and Mexico. Let's give them a big hand.
Welcome.
Welcome. And next is the Institute of Neurosemantics Malaysia, Philippines,
Yeay.
and Singapore.
Sabang.
Selamat datang.
Baik.
And next is the Institute of Neurosemantics USA. Let's give them a big hand.
Welcome.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Yes. So, without further ado, before I invite Michael to begin the presentation, the agenda for this meeting is that it is scheduled for about 90 minutes. So we'll have the presentation. In a short while, I'll invite Michael to give the presentation on a deep dive into attention. Then we'll break for discussions. There'll be two discussions. Each discussion is about 12 minutes each. And you'll be going into the breakout rooms in 5 or 6 per room. And then after each discussion, we'll be coming back into the main room for some sharing. And then after both the discussions, we'll have final announcement, and then that will be what our presentation meeting will be for this month. Now, I would, before I invite Michael, just to mention over here that I would like to remind every one of you to please be here for both the discussion, for both the presentation and the discussion, in order to get maximum value for the meeting. Because when you are in the breakout room, there'll be a smaller number of people. In that way, you'll be able to connect with others from anywhere from around the world. And also, as you discussed, that is when there is that active learning kicking in. So please be here for the discussions as well. So having said that, it is now my pleasure to introduce. I need to stop share first so that I can find Michael's screen to spotlight that. Okay. So without further ado, allow me to introduce to you someone that needs no more additional introduction. So let's give a big welcome to Michael Hall. So let's give him a big hand, everyone.
Bravo.
Well, good morning, everybody. Today, we're going to talk about attention, which seems a little strange because attention just is. And yet, as we do this deep dive, I hope that you'll discover with me that attention is quite a mystery. It is also quite a wonder and a power and a gift, and you can turn it into a skill. So, attention. We're always calling for attention. Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention? Ladies and gentlemen, if you'll direct your attention to the screen in front of you, you're going to see, or someone says, if only I could keep my attention on the things I'm reading, but I keep getting distracted. So, attention. I hope that what we do with attention will capture your attention and give you some new insights about what attention is and its role in our lives. An hour ago, here in Colorado, I had nothing on my attention. I would sound asleep, no attentions. And then all of a sudden, I wake up and there's a whole world of attentions around me. And that's how we usually experience attention. It comes, it goes. When we're asleep, we're attending maybe in the REM sleep to some images of the mind as we're dreaming. But when we're in deep sleep, there's nothing. And then suddenly there's everything. We say that attention is the life of a small child or an animal, that attention is what gets your attention, what grabs your attention. And suddenly, whatever you're attending to, that is who you are and what you are and your life at that moment. So, attentions. Attention is what's on your mind. And to some extent, whatever you're attending is your consciousness at that moment. So, as we start talking about attention, if we go to the next slide, attention is quite a mystery, and there'll be several mysteries I'd like to introduce here. And the amazing thing of attention is that it's the foundation of everything that you experience as your consciousness. Now, the quality of attention, our next slide, is that the quality of your attention is going to determine the quality of your life. Now, that can be quite scary, because what is the quality of your attention? If you were to define it, what is the quality of your attention? Is it highly focused? Is it highly distracted? Is it kind and gentle? Is it judgmental and harsh? Is your attention on what's in front of you, or is it on some memory that you cannot get away from? Or is it on the future and is creating anxiety and worry? So your attention, the quality of your attention is going to determine the quality of your life. And the biggest struggle most of us have with attention is focusing it, directing it, putting it where we want it to go rather than where it seems to want to go. And of course, the more stimuli there are all around us in the environment, then the more distracted we can be, because then it's harder to direct our attention. And so, several different words here: supportive, critical, loving, hateful, respectful, insulting, attention. And so, the question before us is, how well do our attentions serve us? Do they serve you, or do you serve them? So now we're asking the question of who's in control of the attentions. The next slide brings up something that has been in NLP from the very beginning. From the very beginning, we have heard in the field of NLP, energy goes where attention goes. And if you think about that, your energy, your vitality, your motivation goes wherever you're attending. If I know what you're attending to, what you're focusing on, I will know to some extent the quality of your energy and that vitality. In neurosemantics, we've added another phrase to that, as you well know. Energy goes where attention goes, as guided by intention. And so we've separated that there's two parts of the mind. Attention is what's on your mind, and intention is what's in the back of your mind that's directing your attentions. If you've been through APG, you did the intentionality pattern. And the intentionality pattern was designed for you to rise up in your mind and move up the hierarchy of your values to what's important to you. And each level of importance takes you to a higher level of intention, of purpose, of direction. And then with that highest level of intention, we bring our attentions to do service to that intention. And when you do that, then you can develop a laser beam focus of attention. And that's what we mean when we say energy goes where attention goes, as guided by your intention. This really is the secret of motivation. So we say in neurosemantics, there's really no such thing as a problem with motivation. if you're not motivated to do something, whether it's exercise or studying or spending time with your loved ones, if there's not motivation, then your intention is not doing its work and bringing your attentions to it. When you do that, you're going to have motivation. And so with your attentions, energy is involved in attention, which is why every salesperson, every marketer knows if I could just get your attention, if I could do something, maybe a visual something, maybe a sound, music, if I could do something that gets your attention, I've got you. I've got your energy, I've got your vitality, and it's going to determine your life. So that's the power of attention. And they're on the screen because it determines where your energy goes. We really have to be careful with our tensions. And some people are not so careful, and they need to learn to be more careful. So as we talk about attentions, the next slide, all attention is not the same. There are many different kinds of attentions. And so here's three kinds that we'll go through here in just a moment. Attention can be very shallow versus very deep. Attention can be very undisciplined, which is how attention starts in all of our lives, or you can learn to really discipline that attention. And attention can be wide versus narrow. So let's go through these three and look at each one of these. The next slide has the shallow, deep distinction, shallow and deep. So shallow is just your attention is what's on the surface, what's obvious, what you see, hear, smell, feel, taste. This kind of attention can be very calming, relaxing, enjoyable, because you're just in a shallow way, whatever is just in front of you. And so a lot of people, they want to get away from all of the thoughts, all of the demands of the mind, all of the to-do lists that's inside, and they just don't want to focus. They just want to let the attention be shallow. And there's a benefit to it. But if that's how you live your life, you're not going to get much out. Deep means that now your focus goes to what's not seen, what may be hidden, and you're looking for patterns. If you're a coach, if you're a therapist, if you're a consultant, if you work with other people, a lot of times the conversation you have, you want to get behind, you want to go deeper than what's being said. And so now you're using your mind to take your attention to the patterns, meta-program patterns, submodality patterns, metastate patterns, to go deep. And so the deepening there, and your ability to do that is your ability to get to the heart of something. And so this kind of attention is what we do when we do modeling, when we do coaching. It can be very challenging, exciting, effortful. It's what you do when you're doing problem solving, trying to figure out what's really going on. So, so we got two kinds of attention, deep and shallow, and most of us go back and forth. And if you are deeply studying something for an hour, after a while, the mind gets tired and we want to just take a break and just float for a while in our attentions. Now, here's an interesting thing. When you attend to your attentions, which is what we're doing right now, by asking the question, what's the quality of your attentions? When you attend to your attentions, you're creating intention. Isn't that amazing? So here's my attentions, and now I attend the quality of my attentions, and actually I'm intending. I'm rising above my attentions, and this is, of course, what distinguishes us as human beings. Unlike animals that really do not have intentions, we have intentions. We can attend to our attentions. And when you do that, you're activating the prefrontal cortex of the brain, a part of the brain that now is reflecting upon your reflections. So deep and shallow. The next slide refers to undisciplined and disciplined types of attention. Undisciplined is what we're born with. When we're born, our attention just goes anywhere that some sight or sound or sensation or smell or taste triggers us. It's the attention of small children. It's primary consciousness. And here, if you've got too many attentions, we call it attention deficit, which obviously is a misstatement. It's not deficit of attentions. It's too many attentions. And so we're distracted, moving here and there, everywhere. It's actually a lack of intention. Here also, we suffer from accidental metastating. And what I mean by that is whatever you bring to your attention. So what do you bring to your attention? If something is scary and then you bring fear to your attentions become fearful, scary. You can become quite paranoid. If you bring anger, you can bring hostility and a mood of just aggressiveness to your attention. Your attentions are aggressive. If you bring jealousy or competition, if that's what's in the back of your mind and everything you're attending is who's best, who's number one, who's trying to beat me, you can bring silliness. So just think of all of the accidental metastating that you may have experienced in your life that now is affecting the quality of your attentions. So as we attend to our attentions, we are now entering into the realm of intention. And the quality of your attention, because your energy and the kind of energy that you have, whether it's fearful energy or anger energy or jealous energy or loving energy or calm energy, the quality of your accidental metastating is what is now really governing your attention. The next slide, if we can go to the next slide, we'll come back here. The next slide is this accidental metastating of attention. And it's accidental in that whatever experience you're having, there's a likelihood that you'll take that to your attention. And so now we've got that first one there, judgment or fear or whatever that comes to the attention. Sometimes this is a problem that we need to deal with in our lives because our attention is not clean. It's not clear. Everywhere we take our attention, we are getting the same thing. And that indicates that your attention now has this filter, this metastating filter that needs to be addressed. If you were raised in an environment where there was, you were constantly in danger or in threat, an environment in which you heard lots of fearful things, fearfulness may now be a filter in your attention. And so you may need some coaching to learn how to disengage that filter. If we go back to the previous page, that's undisciplined attention. Disciplined attention, and we wrote here that it sounds like it's rigid and strict, but it's really not. Here's the amazing thing. If you want to discipline your attention, all you need to do is set a goal. Set a goal. I want to do this or achieve this or go to this place. Once you put a goal to an attention, that attention becomes an intention. So now you can take charge of your attention. So next slide, and the second diagram there, once you set a goal, you have done something no animal can do. But we humans can do this so quickly. And so we ask the question, what do you want? And the question I'd like to ask today is, what do you want for your attentions? Do you have the kind of quality attention that you can bring to everyday life, to whatever you're reading, studying, having a conversation about? The attention, is it good quality attention? So the next distinction is wide and narrow, and that's the next slide. So attention can be very wide, and by wide we mean it can just take in everything. And sometimes when Geraldine or I are out hiking in the mountains, sometimes I'll just, as it were, open up all the filters to see the wide vistas of experience and bringing in all the sights and all the sounds and all the smells and tastes and sensations. And I'm in sensory awareness of everything, fully present to the outside. NLP calls this being an uptime. Lose your mind, come to your senses, is what was said in Gestalt, Fritz Perls. And so you can widen it up. Sometimes in coaching, I'll do that. I'll be sitting with a person and the person and I talking about a certain thing, and I'll suddenly open up my peripheral vision and just start thinking about the whole, this person, where this person came from, what they're about, what they do every day, who they're related to. Just open up, get the whole person for a moment, and then I'll bring it back in to narrow. So here's something else you can do with your attention. You can widen it, you can narrow it. When you narrow it, you can focus in on a particular subject. And when you do, it's a trance-like state. So say I'm working with someone in a coaching experience and they start talking about their goal, and I focus in on their goal, and I focus in, I can use the well-formed outcome questions to focus in. So what do you want? When do you want to achieve that? Anybody else involved in you achieving that? What do you have to do to achieve that? This is in your power. Do you have a plan? Get the resources? And so that person and I are co-creating a very narrow focus to get really specific. And if we do it well, both of us will get in the zone. We'll be all there. And that's what we mean by a genius state, a flow, when you narrow it in and you're focusing. Sometimes when I'm out and Geraldine, we're out climbing in the mountains, we'll come up on a cliff and we have to climb it, or we'll climb down that cliff. And at that moment, I do not want to use wide attentions, to have a sense of the whole valley that we're climbing up or down. I want to look at each specific rock and hang on to that and move it up or step on it. And so the consciousness now becomes very narrow. Usually, when we finish climbing up and down a cliff like that, I have no awareness of the whole. And it seems like time just stands still. And I'm in that particular moment and there's nothing else there. Well, that's being in the zone. It happens in coaching. It happens when you're reading, when you're writing, when you're engaged in some activity that you're completely and absolutely all there. So here are three qualities of attention. Now let's think of attention as power. So the next slide moves us to a little different aspect of this, and that is power. And I put three different powers here that attention can become powerful resources for you. And so we're going to talk about the power of focusing, power of switching, and the power of interrupting. Now, the power of focusing, which is the next slide, is one that's going to be real familiar to all of us, and that is when we set an intentional goal, you have the ability now to take that attention and really narrow it and focus it and discipline it. And we call this the power of focusing or concentration. So the structure of concentrating on something and not being distracted is this power. And you need it at certain times in life whenever you're doing something that you're fully engaged in. So I do it when I'm reading, I do it when I'm writing, I do it when I'm coaching. And when you do this, this is the second bullet point there, you're shifting from options to procedures. So if you want to learn to move from options to procedures, to release the options and to focus in on the right way to do a particular thing, then that's what you're doing here with this power of focusing. If you won't or can't, don't release options. If you have a fear that you're going to lose your alternatives at that moment, then you can't experience this genius state. And so that's one of the requirements there. And then you can become undistractable. And those of you who know how to do this, you know this power, that at that point, nothing can distract you because you have focused in on something and it's your power. That will raise the power of your comprehension, of your learning, of your understanding, and it will create a great efficiency, whatever you're doing. The power of focusing. The next power that's involved in this use of attention is the power of switching. And this is the ability to switch it. You can do it. Something can grab your attention and suddenly you're not attending here, you're attending somewhere else. You can switch it. Oftentimes, if you're very other referent or external referent, you'll experience this so much that it will feel like the attention deficit disorder because you're switching, and you're not being able to hold it in place so that the switching is under your control. This is what we do in the genius pattern when we ask, for what reasons will you allow yourself to step out of this genius state and take care of some interruption? So this is the power of you switching it on, switching it off. That's staying focused, screening out what needs to be screened out, the distractions that at that moment are not important to attend to, and when to switch on, when to switch off. So switching on and off, you're associating into the very thing that you have chosen to focus on, and you are refusing to step out and to unassociate from it. So the power of switching. So how strong is your power to switch under your control? The next power is the power of interrupting. And this is very similar. Attention is always getting interrupted. And that's just life on planet Earth. What we want to do is to do it on purpose instead of having it occur accidentally. So that's why we set up that question, for what emergencies will you allow yourself to be interrupted? And when the interruption is under your control. But then there are some people who they get their attention caught up in something. It could be a worry about the future, could be a memory about the past, it could be some concern, and they can't get out of it. They can't let it go. So that's why we would need to do self-interrupting. So the ability to interrupt yourself, you might do it by time. Every 15 minutes, I will interrupt whatever attention I'm engaged in, and I will step out to take a break, to check on things, to do an ecology awareness. And so the self-interrupting, when you choose the interrupting and you know how to do it and you can get out of it. So this is part of the power. You've got that power It's just a matter of learning to use it, practice it on purpose, so that it's available to you when you need it and want it. So we've looked at the quality of attention, these powers of attention. Now, the next slide, attention as the quality of life. So I've picked 3 meta programs just to illustrate this. You could use actually any or all of the meta programs. Some people, their attention it is a toward attention. They're always going toward solutions. Some people, their attention is always away from. They're always moving away from problems. How's your attention? Hopefully you can do both. You can, if a problem comes up, you can notice that problem, pay attention to that problem, embrace that problem, define that problem, and then move away from the problem toward some solution that you want, that you got that flexibility. But for almost everybody, there's going to be a preference. What's your preference? Toward, away from. Solutions, problems. Obviously, if you're always toward problems, you're going to have a pessimistic attention filter. And your attention is not going to be clean. You're always going to look for problems and worst case scenarios and how things could go wrong. It's not going to make for a very pleasant life. It's useful at times, and there may be certain occupations where it's absolutely necessary, either in quality control on an assembly line, but if you have a toward solutions attention, that's your basic orientation. So you might set that as a goal to attend to solutions until that becomes, because everything will habituate, until it becomes that's your natural way of attending to things in life. Same thing with self-other. So if you're always focused on yourself and not on others, that's going to create a certain kind of attention and probably lower the quality of life because everything has to go through the filter of me. If you're always focused on everybody else, so once again, attention, having it move back and forth, attention to self, to other, take care of yourself, and then pay attention to others, caring for them, loving them, being of service to them. So attention, which is your preference, which has been habituated. Same thing with time. So attention can always be on the past, on the present, or on the future. And we can develop, once again, habits with these and preferences for these. We can overdevelop one of these so that we're always there. So the person who's always living in the past, everything that happens is filtered through the past or the future or the self. And so our attentional self, the next slides bring up each one of these. I'll go through these really quickly. So here's the attention toward and away from, solutions and problems. The next one is attention, self and other, where our attention goes. These are just basic meta programs that the meta programs reveal your habits of attention and they become filters. And if you're stuck in any one of these, that's where now you don't have flexibility, consciousness to move back and forth. And then attention's in time. The next slide, what we just referred to. And the other, attention in time, that last line there, do your attentions move you to focus on short term or longer term? And short term is useful for being in the moment and looking at what's happening right now. But if you're stuck there, and a lot of people are stuck there, and they're not thinking in terms of long-term consequences of what's going to happen if this continues, So with every meta program, we've got attentions. Our next slide puts all of this together. So we've been going back and forth, attention, intention. When you attend to your attentions, you're moving into intentions. And so how are you living your life? Attentionally or intentionally? And of course, the best way to live life in a human way is intentionally, so that your attentions do service for your intentions. And so this is what we want to, this is what we call the semantic way of doing things with our attentions. So the mystery of attentions, the power of attentions, the gift of attentions. And now we're ready for questions. Next slide.
Thank you, Michael. And let me just stop share here. And I'd like to invite questions. Let's take some questions, 2 or 3 questions before we go to the breakout room. So anyone who have questions, go ahead and unmute your mic, mention your name, and then you can ask questions. So go ahead.
I think I'll ask the first one then.
Go ahead, Irfan.
So, Michael, my question is, when you say you have a wide and narrow attention, when you go wide, that's when you go up times. And you said that sometimes you do this in a coaching session. So I think my tendencies is to just focus with the client. So I was wondering, when you up time, isn't it that you're focusing on the client instead of just using your peripheral visions? Or what do you use with that uptime state in a coaching session? Because I think I misunderstood that one.
So the narrow focus in coaching is I'm going to focus on what you're talking about. So you're talking about your business or your loved one or your children, and I'm asking when and where. When I widen it, I'm going to widen it up to notice your gestures, your movements, your breathing, your facial. I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to widen it even further as to the systems you're inside of and how the systems are affecting this. So I want to go wide, then I go back narrow with my attentions. If I don't go wide, I may never notice the tone of voice you're using because I'm listening to what you're saying, not how you're saying it.
Okay. So checking my understanding, is it safe to assume that in a coaching session, it'll be good if you can just go wide and then narrow and then wide again to check and then go narrow again?
Exactly.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
If you don't do that, a person may get so caught up in the content and they're talking, you may not even have set back and widen it to notice that they're in some distress or some stress. So then I would ask the question, how much stress are you feeling right now? So now I brought it back in to one specific thing. I might even, so you have a level 8 level stress right now. And then I bring it back out. How are you breathing? Bring it back in. They've told me they're breathing high chest and instead of low stomach. Okay. And I might bring it out. Anything coming to your mind in the back of your mind about this, does this remind you of anything? And then whatever they tell me. And so it's in and out with that wide and narrow attention.
Thank you, Michael and Irfan for the question. Next question.
I have a question.
Yes.
So following up on what Irfan just said, so in a coaching session, so as not to get caught up in the story. So this can happen in like split seconds, the in and out.
Right.
And is it also like when we're doing meta detailing?
Mhm.
So it's that back and forth thing.
Mhm.
And it can happen even in a split second.
Right.
Okay. So my next question is how to be able to develop that kind of flexibility that's not going to be, that kind of ease of movement. What can you do?
Well, so this is where you're attending to your attention. So in a coaching session, I might, for a moment, as the person is talking, I might even move out and to attend to my attention. Am I being supportive? Am I being loving? Am I being caring? Am I being challenging? Am I being bringing enough humor to it so that we keep it lighthearted and human? So I might not only attend to the person who's in front of me, but I might also be checking on myself, attending to my attentions.
Okay, so I mean, in terms of developing that kind of switching and flexibility, what can we do as coaches? So there's going to be
Setting
not the
goals.
stress.
Setting goals. So set a goal. You might set a goal when I'm doing. I'll just use coaching as an example. When I'm doing coaching, my goal is to make sure I'm both compassionate and challenging. And so dive in with your challenge and then step back out. Was that challenge compassionate? When you're doing something supportive and you're acknowledging and you're caring for the person, dive out. Is that compassion challenging enough? And so when I set a goal, every goal, this is the amazing thing, every goal sets a new quality for your attention.
Thank you.
So
And we have one more question. Go ahead, Geraldine.
So my takeaway from that is that we become even more intentional in our attention. So what we need to develop is really strengthening that intention, so the attention is even
Right.
more directed.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
我再问 Michael 问题。Michael, can I ask you a question?
Okay.
Regarding the during the coaching session, the widening and the narrowing. What if we do this thing and we are becoming not at present? Because every time when we do the coaching, we say you must be at present. You must be at present to your client. But when we do this switching, especially we attend to our attention, we tend to like moving away from the client. So how do we solve this problem?
Well, that's where you're holding two things simultaneously together. And that's the power of metastating. You take something that's at the primary level and you're bringing a meta frame to it. So if I want to if my goal is to be compassionate and challenging as a coach, so there's my goal to be that way to the client. So I'm holding this client, I want that client to experience my compassion and my challenge. And so if I'm stepping out, widening it to check on my compassion, it's compassion to the client. If I'm stepping out, it's challenge to the client. So it's not either or. It's not black and white. That kind of thinking, black and white thinking, is childish thinking. I'm a success or a failure. I'm good, I'm bad. And that kind of dichotomy, Abraham Maslow said, dichotomizing pathologizes. And every pathology is a dichotomy. So we got to get away from that. And that's where we hold it together. So, and it may take a little bit of practice to do that. So take reading, and hopefully you're going to read the newest book by Neuro-Semantics, Thinking for Humans. When you read, what's your intention? And too many people do not have a specific intention when they read. What am I planning to get out of this chapter? So you set your frame, you set your intention for the reading, your attention. Then your intention will bring that attention, and the attention will do service for your intention. So if you just start reading and you don't know why you're reading, you're reading to see what's in this chapter. That is so vague. By the time you get done, you're not going to have much comprehension. So the first thing is look at the title of the chapter or the first line or two of the chapter. What is this chapter presenting? And what's my intention in reading this chapter? The fascinating thing is if you got a good book, you can read it with different intentions. I've taken some of the basic NLP books and like NLP Volume 1, I've read it to understand strategy. So my intention was I want to understand strategy. I have read it to understand representations. I have read it to understand high accessing cues. I have read it to understand anchoring and state accessing. So I read it from the standpoint of I want to learn state accessing or anchoring. And so your intention will filter out and determine the attentions that you're pulling out and learning. And so to live intentionally is really the desire and the design if you want to live more humanly. And there may be times when you want to do some shallow attention and just relax. But when you want to do some deepening of your attentions and do deep attending to something, that's going to be more challenging. And so once again, relaxing, challenging.
So is that what enables you to read the same book several times? Like Korzybski, you read it 9 times? Because you had different intentions whenever you'd read it. Okay, so for us to hold these two things simultaneously, not be either or, dichotomized, is to be intentionally attentive.
Intentionally attentive.
Hi. Thank you, Michael. And there is a question in the chat from Leonardo Mendoza. The question, Michael, then, is the flexibility of attention directed by our intentions like meta programs? Is it better to have flexible care? So that's the question.
Well, yeah, flexibility is going to be the key. This is one of the main themes in NLP. The person with the most flexibility is going to be more in control and managing a particular situation. So you will be more in control when you have more flexibility to choose. I want to do it this way or that way at any given point. So you're in charge of switching or interrupting or focusing, and that gives you the power. And now you're in charge. So yeah, it's flexibility. Every meta program is useful somewhere. And that's why there's no bad meta programs. It's just this dichotomy of this attention continuum from detail to global. There's a continuum. How much detail, how much global, between options and procedure, how much, and the ability to move. And so that's why we say we want to expand the meta programs so that we have full flexibility of consciousness.
Thank you, Michael. I would like to bring our session to the next stage where we have our discussions in the breakout room. If you were to check your chat box, I have just sent into that box the questions that we'll be bringing into the discussion. So let me just bring the question to the screen. Oh, Somehow I'm not able to share screen. My screen sharing has been disabled. So
about attention.
yeah, so let me just read out to you because I've just sent it out to you just now. In the first discussion room, there will be 3 questions that you'll be discussing. Question one is, how pleased are you with your experience of attention, with your attentional powers? That's the first question. The second question, to what degree can you focus your attention and hold it? 50%, 80%, or 100%? How distractible are you when it comes to staying focused? And the third question is, what change do you want to make regarding the quality of your attentions in terms of self, other, short-term, long-term, or problem solution? So those are the questions, and I hope that each and every one of you, you've managed to download the question just now. Now, anyone would like to share something?
Can I ask something?
Yes, go ahead, Selena.
Our group actually just discussing on the question 1, how pleased about the attention. And when I share, I noticed that I may have my intention, very clear intention, but when it comes to the attention, I will go towards like, I know something, my intention that I want to achieve this, I have this goal, I want to make that outcome, but my attention will go to the comfort way, the relaxing way. So, so is that my intention different or not in a very clear directive, or
Yeah, I would say your intention is not strong enough. It's not been energized and vitalized and maybe made really vivid. There's an old quotation, I don't recall the author. He said, if you're to be hung tomorrow from the galleys, it amazingly focuses the mind. And it's the idea that if something is really, 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 really important, it's all you can think about. Sometimes I'll illustrate the genius pattern by saying that a mother is in the bus station and there's hundreds and thousands of people, and suddenly she can't find her child. She will have laser beam focus. Nothing will distract her from searching for that child. Her intention will be so strong, her attentions will do her service. And so if your attentions is in control, your intention is not strong enough.
So, Michael, would that mean that in strengthening our intention, in terms of going through the intentionality
But
pattern,
why is it important to you?
yeah, so that means we haven't reached really the utmost importance of the why?
So sometimes people answer the question, why is that important to you, by saying it's important to other people. They're actually answering the question, well, my father wants me to do it, my mother wants me to do it, my spouse wants me to do it, it's what I'm supposed to do in this society. Is it really important to you? It's a very different question. Do you want to do it? If it wasn't about your father, your mother, or anybody else, would you give your time, energy, money to do that? So energizing your intention, that's what you want to do.
Question, how do you ameliorate the problem is if I say to a client, your intention isn't strong enough, it becomes a should, becomes a struggle. So how do you invite them to an intention that's clear or better without them internalizing an internal force, discipline, or should?
Well, let me answer it with two different answers. The first is there are some shoulds or musts that are self-actualization musts. And the quotation from Abraham Maslow, a musician must make music, a poet must write. What a person must, what a person is, they must be.
Elas têm que ser.
So that's a very different kind of should or must than the modal operator must. You should because society.
E a sociedade. Vocês estão gravando aqui, gente? Essa aqui?
So we've got our Brazilian translator is we're hearing. So that's a different, there's two different kind of must. One is the self-actualization must of Maslow, and one is the modal operator must. And it's imposed rather than discovered. So what we want to do is to discover the self-actualization must. So in my case, I must write. Every day I feel that must. I must write. And it's because I've discovered, I learned through writing, I get excited through writing, it opens up new, there's just so many reasons why. And when you answer the question, why is that important to you? Then we start discovering our innate musts. So that's what I would do with a client, that if they're, because a lot of times clients do have imposed musts or shoulds. It's imposed by somebody else or the society, and it's what everybody's doing, and they think they must do that. And of course, then they struggle because they really don't want to do that.
So if you're inviting them to discover an innate drive or what you call a must, then it's opening the doors as versus creating a dual system. I must do this and I need discipline.
Yeah. So discipline becomes easy when it's a discovered must. So one of the things I must do is exercise every day. I've discovered that I just feel so much better when I exercise every single day. So I must. And because I must, the discipline is just so easy. I don't even think twice. Do I go to the gym or not? Do I go out to hike a mountain or not? It's just, of course I do. And so the discipline becomes easy when it's a discovered must. Because the discipline is just your step-by-step procedure, how you do it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Richard and Michael. Anyone else has got any questions or something that you want to share from your room?
So can I ask a question? So
Yes.
Michael, what would your suggestion be to train your attention?
Well, that's the fascinating thing. There's two ways to train it. One is to attend to your attentions. So if I step back and ask, what's my attention? What's the quality of my attention when I'm attending as I read or as I coach or as I whatever I do? What's the quality of my attention? Is that the quality of attention I want? So that's one way to, because when you're attending to your attentions, you're intending. And then anytime you set a goal, this is my goal, this is my objective, this is what I want to accomplish, this is the kind of person I want to be, then that intention is also going to be developing the intention.
Thank you. And Diana, you raise your hand.
Now for me, it's the must of being a good mom. So the role of parenting the motherhood for me, it's governing or blocking everything else. And when I hear my kid in the next room crying or just making a little sound, and I know he's good or he's being taken care of, my attention goes. At the minute, my attention goes. So, and right now, when I have like 30 minutes off, I like, okay, I have 30 minutes off. I can read, I can work, I can think about something else. But everything that's governing, it's the motherhood should or must or, you know. So that's my struggle at the moment in terms of how to shift or how to put a more ecological frame in between the roles.
So if we ask the question, what's the quality of mothering? What's the quality of your parenting? What are the qualification words that you use?
It's everything.
So if it's everything, it's nothing. And if it's the word good, it's so vague, it means nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So is your mothering challenging? Is your mothering enabling self-determination? Is your mothering enabling responsibility to for? Is your mothering allowing space? So these would be qualities of mothering that I would want to bring to the parenting process. One way to determine this, 20 years from now, what do you want your daughter or son, what do you want your child to say about the parenting they received?
That I was present, that I was there.
Okay, present is one. What else?
Yeah. Attending, caring, loving. So
so you got one. What else?
Okay. I don't know. For me, the thing is like being present and goes like nobody can do as well as I do as being the mother for them.
So now we got the toxic frame.
Yeah.
That's the toxic frame.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When I think about my mother 20 years ago, she gave me space. She trusted me to find my own answers. She asked me questions and did not provide all the answers. She challenged me to grow up to be responsible. She challenged me to care about other people.
Mm-hmm.
So when you ask the question 20 years from now, you want your daughter how to think about you and what you did with her and the things she achieved through you, being present is just one.
Okay.
If the child felt like she was always there, she was never gone, she didn't trust me. She didn't innately trust that I could figure it out on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And that creates a toxic thing for the child.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael and Diana. Let's move on to the next discussion. For this next discussion, you have the questions with you. And right, so this question number 4 there is, what qualities will you start metastating your attentions with? What qualities will you start metastating your attentions with? Number 5 is, how long can you hold a focus? And the last question there is, what resources do you need in order to strengthen your attentional focus? So those are the questions that I've already sent to all of you. Now let's move to the breakout room. As before, we'll break out for about 10 minutes and yeah, breakout rooms. And I look forward to seeing you here again in 10 minutes time, 5 to 6 people per room. So enjoy yourself and recreate. Yes. And see you in 10 minutes time. So welcome back, everyone. And I hope that you had a good discussion. We already have 2 questions from the Mandarin room. Xiu Hong, would you like to pose those questions to the main room?
Oh, so you okay, Michael, we have one guy when we asked about this meta state, what meta state that he would like to bring to his attention, and he said he's very attentive. He uses he listens to those meta music, very noisy music, and he's still able to concentrate. So he said that this is how he did it, and there was no such thing as no other state. So our question is that for music, when you listen to music, does it bring this attention thing? This is one question.
Music is what you do. That's not the state. Well, I mean, there's 1,000 states of music. There's joyfulness, there's playfulness, there's silliness, there's seriousness, there's drama, there's suspense. So what kind of music?
He's listening to all those rock and metal music, very noisy music. And yet he's still able, with those kind of music, he's able to concentrate. He's able to attend with what he's doing.
I would say he's deceiving himself. That's not the way the brain works. It's just not the way the brain works. Someone in a dysfunctional family growing up, a lot of times will use rock music or loud raucous music to filter out the dysfunction of the family, arguments, the name calling, cursing. But it may survive. They may survive childhood by that, but that's not healthy, and it's not functional. And it's not the way the brain works. The brain works when there's a calm, relaxed ability to be present and to focus on one thing at a time. If there's a lot of noise and ruckus going on, so a person may learn to do that in a dysfunctional family. Now they need to get over it.
Oh, okay.
Michael,
So I
could
would
it
say
be
he's deceiving himself.
could it be a white noise? So it's just for him to distract his mind so that he can be intentional inside? Is it possible?
Well, if it's a white noise is different. A white noise is so very different than what was described as like rock music and real loud. Someone is running away from something when they have to do that.
What if it's appropriate? For example, if I'm in the gym, I need my rock music so that
Well,
I become intentional.
Yeah, that's very, very different because now you want to get your heart and lungs beating, and you want that beat and that loud rocking music to get you going so that you can exercise. That's very, very different from what was described. Because now you're with that music, and that music is raising your heartbeat.
Or can we use music to become, for example, I have certain musics that build my state.
Right.
Like preparing myself to be in that state to become more intentional. So that could be that kind of music, then that's fine. Instead of something's loud. Okay.
So you could use Mission Impossible to get you into a sense of something wonderful is going to happen here, or other music to induce a certain state. But there's going to be a specific state. That's why we're asking this question. What will you metastate your attention with?
So notice that you have been conditioned with amigos para siempre.
All I remember is David Murphy dancing. So
Okay. Any other questions or something that you would like to share, something that you discussed in the breakout room that you would like to share in the main room here?
Yeah,
So-
I like to share something. Because I share in the group just now for the focus that how long that we can focus on. And then I make a compare, like when it come to reading, I may like focus on 15 minutes to 30 minutes. And when it come to typing some articles or some idea, it can be up to 1 hour. But when it come to driving, so I can like drive for 4 hours, 5 hours. So Christian mentioned that, so the focus is like when we are driving for like 4 hours, in between we can be like wide, we focus on the routes, and also we can narrow down. So I'm wondering, is that means that during the 5 hours I have my full attention?
Yeah, probably not. If you
Because
think about
I wonder, like, we are just mastery on driving. So sometimes I don't know what I did during the driving distance. So I'm wondering, is that we really focus on the 5 hours if the 5 hours driving distance?
no. If you look at the Formula 500 drivers who are driving 200, 300 miles an hour, now you're not going to be thinking about anything else except driving when you're driving at those speeds around those curves with other cars next to you. The way we drive when we're driving 70 miles an hour on the interstate, it's going to be very, very different. You're not concentrating much at all. That's why we daydream, we listen to the radio, we have a conversation while we're driving.
So,
Michael,
so it means that so it means that like 5 hour driving, we actually not paying really focus. So
Yeah. That's why you can do so many other things while you're driving. And that's why you drive across town and somebody asks you, how many stoplights did you go through? And what happened? Did you notice the McDonald's on that side? No, we're not paying attention.
yeah, so does that mean because we're not paying attention, we can focus on other things except for driving because it's so habituated, so it's become attention blindness, isn't it?
Yeah, the only person who's paying attention to driving are the brand new drivers. Those who've never been behind a wheel and it's their first. So Geraldine has learned she got her driver's license last September. And while she was doing that, I would try to carry on a conversation while she's driving. And she would say, stop talking to me, stop talking to me. I'm concentrating.
The lanes here are so different, so it's like I have to orient myself and need to focus. Plus, I'm driving a manual. So, yeah, and plus when the radio is on at the same time while he's talking to me, so it's like they're just too much.
I thought if you can drive in Manila, you can drive anywhere in the world.
But the thing with Manila is that we don't follow rules.
Yeah.
And here she has to follow the rule.
There's the toxic frame there.
So how
So in
well
terms
have
of
you managed to
quality
shift?
Yeah, so in terms of quality of attention, it has to follow the rules, strictly follow the rules.
Michael, there's also one student was asking, she's when we talk about this meta state to her attention, she said she's just doing pure attention. She bring emptiness into the attention as a meta stage. So Is there such thing as bringing emptiness to the attention? She's like doing pure.
No, that's a good hypnotic induction, but it doesn't refer to anything. I mean, by definition, when you bring nothingness into something, emptiness, you can't do it. That's not how the brain works. The brain works by representing and being aware of something specific. And if you're aware of nothing, then you're just in a trance state of, and it's relaxation. So I suggested when in our little place that I bring curiosity. I meditate my awareness with curiosity. I meditate my when I'm coaching with skepticism. I meditate myself with humor, looking for the humorous things to lighten up. That it's just silly, us humans being silly with our ridiculous things that we say to each other. So, but if you bring nothing, then you have nothing.
Right.
And if I'm trying to manage my awareness, then I need to bring something specific. That's why we asked the question, meditating with what? Well, meditate it with love, meditate it with curiosity, meditate it with kindness, meditate it with belief that you can be so much more than you're demonstrating. So,
intention.
So, Michael, it's not enough for us to know why it's important. We got to know also what states will
Yeah.
fuel that importance.
Yeah.
And that will be ecological for us as well. Okay.
So is that the distinction between frame and state, right, Michael? It's important, but the state is what the importance give to the feelings and the body and the mind and call us into a state.
Yeah, I think so.
So would you consider when we talk about intention, it's more of the thinking. And then when we talk about state, infusing the state, that will be the feeling.
Michael, if somebody brought the music, it's actually to put him into that particular state, right? Into that particular state. So I talked to him just now. He said that, oh, maybe you are right. He's listening to the music because he wants to be in that kind of agitated state. So that means he's using the music into his agitated state so that he can do whatever he wants to do. Is that the way? That means music is like a, what do you call it, a mechanism to bring him into the state that he wants to get.
Yeah, the question I would have, and this is the checking ecology, what are you doing that you need to be agitated about? When and where does agitation really bring at your best and is resourcefulness? Because there's not very many things in human experience where being agitated is going to be helpful. There's just not that many.
Well, probably it's just lost in translations. My guess is excited.
Yeah,
is it possible?
Excited. I'm sorry. It's excited. Excited. He wants to get excited.
Well, and once again, what is the activity that, most of the exciting things that people do, the excitement is not the feeling they have when they're doing it. It's what they have afterwards when they reflect upon it. It's the afterglow of happiness, excitement, joy afterwards. But during it, they're not doing that. Because if they're too excited, then they're not going to be very effective. Think about Olympic athletes, whether it's gymnasts or divers or jumpers or runners. They need excitement to be a diver or a gymnast. But the gymnast, when the gymnast starts out on their routine, they need to have absolute control and calmness and specific distinctions about what they're going to do when they do their exercise. And excited is not going to be helpful. And same thing with air controllers. That's one of the most stressful jobs in the world. Being an air controller.
Pilot?
Traffic.
Air traffic controller.
Air traffic controller.
And it might be real exciting. This plane is coming and they're at this altitude and this plane is coming and this one and I need to record this. They don't need to be excited. They need to have the most calm, controlled voice, communicate to all those pilots. And later they may want to go and get some real loud music just to get it out of their system. But when they're doing the process, they don't need excitement. So I would want to ask, and this is where people can get the wrong state for the activity. And they need to correlate the right state for the activity. If I get too excited when I'm reading, my reading quality really degenerates. I need to calm myself down and realize later on I'll be able to deliver this and it's going to be insightful and it's going to be life-changing. But right now I need to calm myself down so I can read with clarity and comprehension. So the quality of attention, just absolutely central to what we do and how we do things effectively.
So Michael, may I invite you to do a summary of the presentation for this evening?
Once upon a time, there was a president of the United States. And if there's anybody who has a lot on his to-do list, it would be a president of the United States. This president, Bill Clinton, was known for his attention. He would walk into a busy room, 300 people, 1,000 people. And as he would walk through the room, he would meet a person, he would grab their hand, he would talk to them, and they would say things to him. And they would say, and this was the message of thousands of people, when Bill Clinton stopped and talked with me, it was like I was the only person in the room. He would bring all of his attention to that one person. He wouldn't look around. He wouldn't be paying attention to anything except that one person. And that one person would feel like, at that moment, I was the only person in his world. Bill Clinton was known as a good communicator and very charming. And I think that was the secret of his charm, that whatever he was doing, he would switch. He would interrupt himself and he would switch and he would be present to a person in that way. If it just lasted 3 seconds, he was completely, absolutely there. And it was a gift. It was a gift to that person of his attention. So may each of us, may each of you develop your quality of attention. And then when you give it in coaching, in relationship, in whatever you're doing, when you give that attention, may it be a gift of love, compassion, intensity, challenge. May it be a gift to the world.
Right. Thank you for that, Michael. Thank you for that summary and closing for this session. And what I would like to do is that a couple of announcements before we end. First announcement is if you are to check the chat box, I have just uploaded in that box the slides that Michael used for this presentation. So if you want to download that, you can have it. I sent it in PDF format, so you can save those. The second announcement that I would like to make is that our Neurosemantics Wisdoms session will be on the 9th of March. We typically do this on the second Saturday of the month. It's just that for this month, because of the Chinese New Year, we had it on the third Saturday. So next month, we are going back to the second Saturday, which will be on the 9th of March. Final announcement is that the Neuro-Semantics Trainers Training will be held on the 18th of May to the 1st of June. 18th of May to the 1st of June. So that will be in Putrajaya in Malaysia. So that's the third announcement that I would like to make. So with that, we've come to the end of the session. And before we end, just to get everybody ready for us to take the photo. So if you are able to access your video, get your makeup done properly. Ready or not? 3, 2, 1. That's the first shot. And I'm going, oh, wow, Irfan, I love that smile. Then the second screen. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Right. So thank you very much, everyone. It has been a pleasure and honor for me to host this session. I would like to thank you for your presence and participation in this meeting. And I look forward to meeting all of you in our next meeting. And I wish you an exceptional quality of life filled with happiness, creativity, and fulfillment. Thank you very much, everyone. See you.
Thank
Next
you.
month.
Thank you,
Okay.
Marzuki. Thank you,
Thank
Michael.
you.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
See you. Have a good day. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Michael. Gracias.
Gracias a todos.
Bye-bye.